All right, so I think everyone has seen this now. TikTok ban is real. Today, about hour, 2 hours before Sunday, TikTok voluntarily took it down. Now, it's TikTok and it's CapCut for US-based users. So if you had a CapCut Pro subscription, that shit is gone, right? So I'm locked out right now too. Just wanted to share a couple of my thoughts, mainly for musicians, DJs, and producers, because that's where I'm coming at it from. So there's been a huge amount of migration to RedNote. It's, I think, the #1 most downloaded app in US, Canada, UK, good number of app stores this month, right? So that's the English translation for the app Little Red Book, so Xiaohongshu. I would say, yeah, go ahead, download it. You know, reserve your ID just in case, right? And there's been a huge amount of excitement around it. And yeah, people are having fun for, 1 or 2 days. Long term, I'm really not predicting that this sticks around. I wouldn't dump too much of your energy, trying to learn Chinese if you're a US artist or musician trying to find the next place that you're going to promote, right? There's a number of reasons. I would say that first, it's a very Chinese app, right? It's the US and China have very different internet cultures, right? China's very welcoming right now. The Chinese reception to the TikTok refugees has been strong, but America is America, right? We already have guys that have been banned on RedNote for trying to teach Chinese people how to produce and print 3D ghost guns, right? So there is an incentive there for both the Chinese and the US government to keep these two groups separate, right? Americans and Chinese. The more you talk to each other, the more you realize that kind of the government is, lack of a better word, making a lot of stuff up, right? So you see a lot of the early posts of Americans going on Xiaohongshu and being like, oh, China's actually like kind of cool. Like it would be cool to live there. Like these folks look like they're having a good time. And yeah, that's the trick, right? Like a big part of US politics right now is, the one bipartisan issue. You got to get Democrats and Republicans can both agree that it's good to hate on China, right? You don't want to take that away from the government. So again, I think long term, we're not really going to see folks stay on RedNote. So the question is, what are the alternatives then, right? Or do we need an alternative at all? Because I really want to go back to that TikTok piece. I know that people are thinking this means TikTok goes away. Again, maybe not, right? But the alternatives, I would say there's not a huge amount of alternatives. You want to look at the existing platforms. There's a reason why everyone moved away from Facebook, unless you're doing something in groups or you're trying to sell conspiracy theories to boomers, you're going to have a hard time doing anything meaningful on Facebook. And then I think, again, Instagram, right? You can get engagement on Instagram, right? You'll get hundreds of likes. But it still feels like firing into a vacuum, right? Engagement isn't meaningful in the same way that, TikTok people, when they comment and, they might be flaming you, right? But you do get the sense that there are real people on TikTok, as, crazy and volatile as they might be, right? So Instagram, again, you have a very money-driven ecosystem, very, very ad-heavy. The kind of platform that you put in money into, you get engagement. The minute you stop, that's going away, right? And that's because you are not competing with other artists. You are targeting specific people. And let's say that the person that you're targeting a musician, for example, someone who likes rock music, someone who likes guitars. Now, every music retailer is also targeting that person. When that person gets an ad from, let's say, Sweetwater, Guitar Center, whatever, they have let's say they get someone onto their page for $3. They have a 3% to convert. That 3% to convert, if they convert, they might have just bought a $1,000 guitar, right? That's, 3% to convert. They're going to do what? Like listen to your song from your ad, right? So as musicians, as producers, we are not going to be able to outspend people that are targeting music fans on the long term. So unless, interest in the conversation, some element of organic interaction and authenticity is actually valued on the platform, you're just competing for money. So again, I don't think Instagram's the primary way to go, but your mileage may vary. And then finally, YouTube, right? I mean, shit, we're watching this on YouTube right now, and I do honestly think that YouTube is one of the best ways long-term to grow a platform, a community that, you can both serve and you can interact with. The problem is, YouTube is really, really difficult. You can tell by my stats, there are not too many people watching these videos, right? I'm not gonna be shy about it. Facts are facts, numbers don't lie. So yeah, give it a shot, but it's difficult. What does that take us to, right? Is TikTok coming back? And reality is, yeah, it probably is coming back really, really soon, right? I would say, given that we're going to see this stay of this, and this isn't even being enforced on the US side, probably a couple of weeks. We see a reconciliation under the new administration. They're going to progress towards some kind of divestiture. Because the reality is this isn't about national security, right? This is about creating an environment where a foreign company is forced to sell to Americans at a very unfavorable valuation. And you can argue and say, hey, Dan, there's nothing that stipulates it needs to be a US-owned company. And you'd be right. But if you look at the implicit valuation of TikTok, there are not that many companies, and certainly not in Europe's capital environment or the rather lacking state of Europe's tech scene, that could come up with a $40-50 billion deal to secure TikTok, right? So, long term, probably yes, TikTok will stick around, but I think in one of three forms. And which form that takes matters a lot to us, right? Because we don't just need a platform, right? We need a platform that's useful for how we want to use it, right? Useful for, reaching out to fans, having conversations, driving interest around the music or the creative project that you're working on, right? So I think there's kind of three potential ways that this can go, right? One, which I think is kind of unlikely, but I would say it's purchased and it retains its character and algorithm, right? No major changes, kind of the same organic, community-focused approach. And it's possible, but there's big chunks of the code base that's shared with Douyin, which is the equivalent of TikTok in mainland China. And I don't think that is going to be something that is going to be given away trivially, right? Certainly not. And I know people have theories about, Musk buying it, about Mr. Beast buying it. Neither of these things is going to happen, right? So Musk has inspired I think, stunning lack of faith from anyone who actually would have the money to back it, with his complete destruction of any kind of investor value. We're looking at something that is worth maybe half of what he acquired it for. So again, stranger things have happened, right? We saw SoftBank make a second major payout to WeWork's crazy cult founder. So yes, it's possible. I don't think it's likely. And then the Mr. Beast thing, right? So again, Mr. Beast is the most successful YouTuber. The order of magnitude between a successful YouTuber and buying, one of the world's dominant social platforms is quite large. As far as I know, I think he's managed to raise something like 20 billion, which is going to take a lot more than a national ban to get that deal done. And hey, if you are a Mr. Beast fan and you want to bookmark this video and prove me wrong if the deal comes through, you can absolutely do that in the comment section, and I will pin your comment. But I would imagine the chances aren't high, since I don't have too many 13-year-old viewers, and I don't think you would have managed to get 10 minutes into a video where I wasn't giving something away anyways. So that's the first option. Second option, TikTok's purchased with a revamped algorithm. Now, I think this is really the most likely one, right? So they made a couple of major changes in the last couple months already. So they may be already preparing for this. And if we get something and it's purchased and it's moved into this hyper monetized state similar to Instagram, then it'll be really irrelevant that we got it back, right? So I mean, just it coming back doesn't mean a great deal in this case, right? At that point, we're just going to all, aggregate and put the same content that we put everywhere else, right? Facebook stories, Instagram Reels, TikTok, blah, 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 right? So again, not a big change at that point, other than, you're going to need some way to get unique traffic, because all of those things now are only going to drive traffic if you're shoveling money into them. And then I think the last one, kind of fringe case, right? It could have a merge rather than a sale in a way that would allow it to retain its character. There's a deal right now with Perplexity to approach them about a merger that would allow them to retain their ownership and their IP. So again, this is kind of interesting, right? If this is kind of the X factor one, right? We don't know if it's going to retain its character. We at least know it's not going to move into the kind of hyper monetized hellscape that Instagram is. And not a ton that you can action on this one, right? So I think, long story short, what does it mean, right? What do we do? What do we do from here? And I think it's kind of a continuation of, what made a lot of sense in 2024. Driving that local connection, driving that community, that hunger for, live events, that absolutely has not gone away after COVID. You look at, any kind of event groups, and I'm not even just talking about music. I'm talking about, doing something like, hey, folks are getting together to paint things that are not particularly interesting, right? You can paint the, 15 millionth iteration of a sunset using watercolors. And, that's a fun day because people want to get out, right? So I think for us, it's going to be, how do we get out there? It doesn't necessarily need to be in a 1,000-person venue. How are you going to connect with people on an individual basis? Like, are we going to see street teams coming back? Because I think that would be really cool, right? Having just, the wall of posters. And again, I can see the argument of, you're not reaching 10,000 people. Reality is, you're not really reaching 10,000 people when you have 10,000 views either, right? You think about it from a conversion perspective, you remember a poster you see a good deal more than you remember an internet ad, right? I think big part of it is going to be, how do you drive those in-person connections? How do you drive those email connections? How do you actually reach and talk to fans? Because, in reality, and, no shade, but I would say if you're watching this video, you're probably not, insanely huge. You might be on the come up, respect that. But you do have some scale to just reach out, have lives with fans and whatnot. Nobody's kicking down our doors right now. So anyways, super late. Gonna just throw this up without cutting it too much. If you thought it was useful, like, follow, blah, blah, blah. If you have any questions, hit me up. Not gonna bother to edit this.